Students, today we are going to start with the topic of diffusion and osmosis. So, what is diffusion? Diffusion is basically the movement of gaseous particles from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration. It means the gaseous particles or the gaseous exchange from a region where there is a higher concentration of gaseous particles to a region where there is a lower concentration of gaseous particles. The second is osmosis, the movement of water from a region of higher water concentration through a semi-permeable membrane through a region of lower water concentration. It means the movement of water particles from a region where there is higher water concentration, more quantity of water particles to a region of lower water concentration through a semi-permeable membrane. So the catchphrase is semi-permeable membrane, which semi-permeable membrane means a membrane or a layer which allows selective transfer, selective entry or exit of the particles. So it only allows few particles, not all the completely, it is not completely permeable, but semi-permeable. Selective particles are allowed to enter or pass through. Now the question is, how do substances like carbon dioxide and water move in and out of the cell? So what happens is, as the cell functions, the concentration of carbon dioxide in the cell increases. So when the cell starts to function, the concentration of carbon dioxide inside the cell increases, whereas the concentration of the carbon dioxide outside the cell decreases. So what happens, as we discussed in diffusion, the gaseous exchange takes place from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration. So this is what happens. If you can see, carbon dioxide moves out of the cell from a region of higher concentration to the region external environment, which is a region of lower concentration. Now water moves in and out of the cell from a region of high concentration through a semi-permeable membrane. The layer, there is a plasma membrane, is a semi-permeable membrane which allows the transfer, which allows the entry or the exit of the water particles in and out depending on the concentration, from a region of high concentration to a region of low concentration through the process of osmosis. What is the difference between diffusion and osmosis? Diffusion, it can occur in any medium, and osmosis, it requires only liquid medium. It occurs only in liquid medium. Diffusion, it does not require any semi-permeable or permeable membrane, but in diffusion, in osmosis, it requires a semi-permeable membrane. And so now, what is hypotonic solution? Hypotonic solution is a solution surrounding the cell which has a higher water concentration than that in the cell. Water membranes are free to pass through the cell membrane in both directions, but more water will come into the cell than will leave. The net result is that the water enters the cell and the cell is likely to swell up. So what happens in hypotonic solution is, hypotonic solution means a solution in which the concentration of water is more than the surrounding cell. Suppose if a cell is dipped in a solution which has more concentration of water, then it is known as hypotonic solution. Is a solution surrounding the cell which has a high water concentration than that of the cell. What happens then is, water molecules are free to pass across the cell membrane in both directions, but more water will come into the cell than will leave, as you told, from a higher concentration to a lower concentration. So water solution से सेल पार्टिकल के अंदर जाएगा और इससे क्या होगा, सेल पार्टिकल जो है स्वेल अप हो जाएगा. यू कैन लुक एट द एग्जांपल ऑफ हाइपोटोनिक सॉल्यूशन. 20% salt in the cell molecules, and there is 10% in this. So water moves into the cell. So the water molecules, the concentration of water molecules outside is more and inside is less. So water moves inside. When is a solution said to be isotonic? When the medium surrounding a cell has the same concentration of water as that the cell, is called as isotonic. हमने पहले hypotonic पढ़ा, जहाँ पे water concentration surrounding cell से ज़्यादा होता है, और यहाँ पे water concentration surrounding cell के almost equivalent और similar होता है, तो इसको कहते हैं isotonic. Water crosses the cell membrane in both directions, but the amount going in is the same as the amount going out. So there is no overall movement of water and the cell will remain the same size. Since जो solution है वो solution same कंसनट्रेशन का होता है, उसमें वाटर कंसनट्रेशन सेम होती है एज दैट ऑफ द सेल। सो उसमें कोई मूवमेंट नहीं होता, इन और आउट का कोई मूवमेंट नहीं होता है। तो जो सेल है वो सेल सेम साइज और सेम स्ट्रक्चर का रहता है, ना उसमें स्वेलिंग होगी ना वो स्क्वीज़ होगा, क्योंकि सेल जितना पानी जितना बाहर जा रहा है उतना पानी अंदर भी आ रहा है। ओके, जैसे आप यहाँ देख सकते हो, हियर द कंसनट्रेशन इज सेम 10% एंड 10%। सो इसमें पानी अंदर भी जा रहा है बाहर भी जा रहा है, लेकिन क्या हो रहा है कि ये स्वेल भी नहीं हो रहा और ये स्क्वीज भी नहीं हो रहा। व्हाट इज हाइपरटोनिक सोल्यूशन? हाइपरटोनिक सोल्यूशन व्हेन द मीडियम सराउंडिंग द सेल हैज़ लोअर कंसनट्रेशन ऑफ वाटर। इसमें वाटर का कंसनट्रेशन कम है। देखिए जो सेल जो वाटर बॉडी जो वाटर सराउंड कर रहा है सेल को, उसमें वाटर का कंसनट्रेशन कम है एज कम्पेयर टू इसमें। तो इसको हाइपोटोनिक कहते हैं। इसमें क्या होता है, मूवमेंट होता है दोनों तरफ से, बट ज़्यादा वाटर निकलता है और कम वाटर आता है। तो इससे क्या होता है, ये श्रिंक होता है। पहला था हाइपोटोनिक, दूसरा था आइसोटोनिक और तीसरा था हाइपरटोनिक। हाइपोटोनिक में क्या होता है, दोनों चीज़ों में दोनों डायरेक्शन में मूवमेंट होती है, लेकिन उस पहले में क्या होती है कि वाटर अंदर जाता है तो इसलिए वो स्वेल हो जाता है। दूसरे में क्या होता है, वाटर अंदर बाहर दोनों जगह जाता है तो कोई मूवमेंट नहीं होता। तीसरे में क्या होता है, वाटर ज़्यादा बाहर आता है तो इसलिए हाइपरटोनिक ये श्रिंक हो जाता है। ओके, so the next point is plasmolysis. So we'll discuss this in the next class.